There you go.
I did it.
Not as enthused. Did you guys see the opening last week? Did you guys listen to the first couple minutes where I?
Of course, yeah, it was
added
funny.
the weird opening, the one that you guys messed up on. Well, Max messed up on.
No, I didn't. It turns out I had strep throat, so I slept and then immediately went backpacking for 4 days.
Oh, that's right.
As one does with strep throat.
I'm here for the cold openings, though. I love a cold opening on a podcast.
Anyway, this is Gaming Nexus Show, which is the spinoff of GamingNexus.com. On the website, we mostly talk about just video game related stuff, but on the podcast, we talk a little bit about everything. And this week we are short one member, but we added another for the week. So Joe's not here, but we're joined by friend of the show, Jeff from. Well, Jeff, you just kind of explain all the things you like to do.
Okay, yeah. Well, thanks guys for letting me fill in for Joe. I will not steal his thunder and issue any ban hammers. I will leave that to him. But I make podcasts. I've made a lot with Elliot. We did a show called Budget Arcade with our friend Scott, who he and I still do the show along with my buddy Mark. Then Mark and I have another podcast where we review movies called The Movie Draft House. And then that wasn't enough, so I started a solo podcast where I'm reviewing every Alfred Hitchcock movie in the order they were released. And I'm releasing that every Wednesday in 2021. He made 52 movies. There's 52 Wednesdays in the year 2021. So I'm doing that to myself.
That's a fascinating project. So what movie are you on at this point?
So there's What's Out, which tomorrow... Oh, is tomorrow Lifeboat? I don't remember.
No, Lifeboat came out last week, which I actually watched Lifeboat after listening to you talk about it.
It's a good movie, right?
Yeah, I actually really liked it.
There's a baller sci-fi version called Life Pod from about 20 years ago.
Oh, have you seen that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Are you familiar with Lifeboat?
I am, because I watched Lifeboat after I watched Life Pod, and you know what? It's the exact same movie.
So he's got a lot that have been remade. Now, there's obvious ones like Psycho, 1998, which is bad, okay? But I don't know if you've ever seen the movie A Perfect Murder, starring Michael Douglas and Gwyneth Paltrow. It's from 98, I think, or somewhere around there, early 90s. That's a remake of Dial M for Murder, which I didn't know until I watched Dial M for Murder. So where am I on this? So next week, or tomorrow... because this comes out on Tuesday. So tomorrow comes out with Spellbound.
Okay.
Which I'm just over halfway, but I've actually recorded about a month ahead. So I'm going to watch Stage Fright next, and then I get to watch Strangers on a Train, which is probably the most popular Hitchcock movie I've actually never seen.
Okay.
That's awesome. My Hitchcock is sadly blind spotted. I've seen 3 Hitchcock movies.
You're not missing anything. So I was the same way, right? So the reason I started this is my all-time favorite movie is Psycho, 1960, Anthony Perkins, Janet Leigh, all that stuff. And so I pick out a couple more to watch. I watch North by Northwest, great movie. I watch Vertigo, great movie. I watch Birds. I can leave that one. That one's not that great. But for the most part, I'm like, these are great movies. One day, I'm going to watch them all. So I was bored, and I said, okay, I'm going to watch them all and do a podcast about it. And let me tell you, man, the first half of the podcast, I was pulling teeth. So his first 8 movies, actually technically first 9, are all silent.
Oh, wow. I didn't know we went that far back, man.
The 20s. Fortunately for me, one of them was lost to time, so I didn't have to watch it. So 8 silent movies, then you get sound, but the sound isn't that good, so you still have to watch with subtitles. Sure. And then you finally kind of get where I am now. Cary Grant showing up in the movies, and Gregory Peck and Ingrid Bergman. And so I'm like, okay, we're picking up momentum where I am now. So it's getting a lot less painful. But nobody that listens to this show probably wants to hear about Alfred Hitchcock.
No, but you say that every time you talk about it, but
Joke's on
every
you.
Wednesday.
No one listened to
It's
this
the
show.
first thing.
That's
It's the first podcast I listen to every Wednesday when it comes out because it's so it's unique to me because I'm not a big Hitchcock guy either. I've slowly become more of one because of the podcast, which is called Hitchcock Chronologically, which you failed to say the
Hitchcock
name.
chronologically.
But that's
It's what the podcast is and the name. Well, and as you say, you've become more of a Hitchcock fan. I think I've become less of one. I thought he was some sort of genius who could do no wrong. And I've realized, no, he worked really hard to get as good as he did. And he made a lot of bad movies to get there. So I think he just got good with time.
That's inspiring.
Fair enough, man. But it's a cool project.
Yeah, I'm having fun with it. But when it's done, I'll be ready to just have one less podcast on my plate.
So
I
you
think
find
it goes to
another-
show you that anybody
I
can get,
almost
you know,
certainly, like, I'm already thinking about, I want to do like a shorter series about M. Night Shyamalan movies, but I don't know.
What were you gonna say, Max? Sorry. Oh.
Oh, you're good. I don't care. I was just gonna say, I think it goes to show you that anybody with, enough budget to get dozens and dozens of movies funded, even though they aren't good at making them, can become a good movie director.
Yeah, I think that's
Like
true
Community
early
Bus.
on because I could talk about Hitchcock all day, but like his movies at the beginning, he's doing at least like 2 to 3 movies a year. And now in the era I'm in, he's doing 1 a year. And then when we get really late, he kind of does like 1 every 4 years. And he sort of becomes that more like where it's an event, like a Tarantino movie or a Christopher Nolan movie in his later years.
He
But
works
at
his
the
way up to
beginning-
auteurship.
Yeah. And in the beginning, though, he's just pumping them out just to get them out there. And it worked for him. But a lot of it's real bad.
Just like me with kids, just pumping them out.
Oh, I think it works
You're
as
not
they
the one
go.
pumping them out.
Shows how little you know about it.
You'll get a good one. someday,
Okay,
Eric.
fair enough.
Anyway, let's talk about some hard-hitting news, guys. Resident Evil has announced a new line of themed perfumes.
What? Is this
Whoa.
real?
Yes, it's real.
Decay scented?
I know, right? Like flesh.
It's coinciding with the
Raccoons.
25th anniversary of Resident Evil, which 25 years, I did not realize how old it was. There are 3 fragrances. One is inspired by Chris Redfield, one by
Ooh.
Leon Kennedy, and one by Jill Valentine.
What I want is them to do a commercial of this, but I want it shot in the original style of the 90s of the Resident Evil
Like the fixed
cutscenes,
cameras.
but like with Redfield flicking his hair back, Redfield, and he's holding the perfume. That's what I need in my life.
You, Jill Valentine, the master of perfumes.
Oh, God, that it writes itself, man. That's good stuff.
I've never played a Resident Evil game, not a single one.
Yeah, me
I'm
neither.
largely not a fan, and Cody, who used to host Budget Arcade with me, loves it, and we used to fight about it all the time. But it's just one of those series I never got into. But I played the original, and that voice acting that Eric just did was pretty spot on.
Yeah. I'm a take it or leave it Resident Evil guy. I think I played like the big ones. I played the first one. I guess I played the second one. I played 4. And then I've messed with the 2 most recent ones, but I haven't like truly sat down and like gone through them
Oh.
in depth. So
Just never-
Joe is our Resident Evil guy.
Yeah, he's
There's
big
plenty of
now.
evidence of him online shrieking and cowering and carrying on.
Sounds like good old Joe. Mandalorian, were you guys Mandalorian fans?
Yeah.
I
I
know.
was.
You know it.
I
Yeah.
probably should watch it.
What the fuck? What?
That's a show.
So, okay, along with Resident Evil, but to a lesser degree, I like Star Wars. I grew up with Star Wars. I don't own any memorabilia, though. Like, I have Ninja Turtles t-shirts, right? That's my jam. If something Ninja Turtles comes out, I'm all over it. But I don't get out of bed for Star Wars.
No, it's fair. It's fair. Everybody's got their thing, man.
Yeah, everybody should pick 1 or 2 and then ignore the rest. It's
Yeah, I don't
unmanageable.
ignore it.
One
you
or
know,
two.
I
But
think you should.
okay,
If
I'll
you're
open
doing
the
Star
can.
Wars, don't do Marvel. You can't
I
do
didn't
both.
mind The
It's not
Last
worth
Jedi.
Oh,
It
I
didn't bother me.
You're
know?
not opening a can with me, man. I didn't mind it either.
I didn't
and
think it was that
whatever the
great.
one was before. I was fine with them. Whatever. I mean, the last one was the worst. but who cares? They just like, it doesn't get me upset.
Anyway,
I like the
don't mean
Solo
to-
movie too. How about that one? I like the Solo movie.
I didn't hate the Solo movie, but I liked Rogue One so much that I wanted it to be of the same quality, and it wasn't.
There's
like,
nothing as good as
Man,
Rogue One.
Rogue One was just like shocking how good it was.
Yeah.
Anyway,
All right, go ahead. Star Wars,
if you know
Mandalorian
the ending,
stuff.
if you know the ending of season 2 of Mandalorian, there's a very big appearance by a very prominent character from Star Wars. A lot of people were not super happy with how he looked when it
so
came
it's a male
to
character. Okay.
when it came to like his appearance. People were like, "Wow, this is really pretty bad." It was.
Are you gonna talk about the guy who deep faked it and made
Yes.
it better than Disney did?
Not only
then-
did he,
and
and then
then they
got
hired him?
Yes, Industrial Light and
can you-
Magic.
As someone who
Yeah, so
doesn't
finish telling the
is
story.
probably never going to watch the show, can you edit it out, but just tell me who we're talking about?
Yeah, fantastic. Luke Skywalker appears.
Beep.
Okay.
Just put a beep
But a
there.
young. I'll do what I want to put. I'll put what I want to put there, Max. Don't
Put a beep
don't,
there, Elliot.
Or what you can do is put a laser gun from Star Wars.
or a
Oh, that'd be
lightsaber.
cute.
Yeah, nah.
Pew, pew, pew.
Anyway, so he shows up, but a lot of people were like not super happy with how he looked. Personally, I didn't mind it because I just like was there for the ride. But this guy made a deep fake version of it, and it was so well liked that Industrial Light and Magic literally hired him.
Yeah.
So it's
So,
kind of
okay.
been making the rounds.
I didn't get like mad at the Mandalorian. Like I was like, oh, this is neat. It's a neat thing that he's showing up. Like, kind of dig it, and it's fun. But I have been like, what the fuck is going on with the Lucasfilm people and their digital faces, because they are ass. Like we were talking about Rogue One, Moff Tarkin and Princess
Yes.
Leia look horrible in that movie, and it's
Yeah.
jarring how bad they look in that movie. And it's like, dog, I know they can do better than this because Marvel beats the like
It's
Sam
not even
Jackson.
close. Right.
Sam Jackson is in the whole movie of Captain Marvel. And he looks perfect the entire time. You can't even tell that they de-aged him like 30 years. But like Disney has this 10-second clip at the end of Mandalorian, and it looks like shit. They're both Disney. I'm sorry, Lucasfilm. And so I'm kind of like, why don't you go like across the hall and borrow those dudes for a few days and have them do your faces, because you guys clearly like don't have the faces down. And it's funny because they're so good at all the other digital effects and so on.
Yeah.
But man, those faces are ass compared to the ones that Marvel does. And so, yeah, it's funny that a dude showed up online and just like dominated and like
Days
crushed.
after.
That's really
Yeah.
the,
I thought it
the
was a little
telling
better.
bad part.
So
I think it's interesting how you bring up like how siloed the knowledge is at these various Disney properties. Like that Star Wars and Marvel aren't sharing their like de-aging technology with one another. It also seems like they aren't sharing their like writing processes. You've got Marvel being this like giant plan where they know what they're doing a decade out, and Star Wars is pretty clearly like, hey,
Random
so we just did
director.
movie 7. Do you want to come up with a movie for maybe 8?
or
Yeah,
not,
Or something
just
happens?
pressure.
Yeah, like they don't just come up with it. We didn't have a plan.
Like they admitted that that's how they did it, which is stunning that they
They
didn't
need-
have a 3-film arc like worked out and then just said, hey, why don't you riff on this for your movie and hand somebody at least like a synopsis, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah, it is absolutely stunning.
It's like, why aren't the same
They
people
needed Kevin
like,
Feige because
Yeah.
Kevin Feige's
Well,
in
they-
charge, right?
they
They got him now, but aren't they
Yeah.
bringing him over?
I believe that's what I heard. I don't want that though, right? As much as I'm indifferent to Star Wars, I love the Marvel stuff. I love the TV series and the movies. And yeah, some people say whatever about them. They just
Man,
don't
they're
like
great.
enjoying life. But
That's right. That's right. Communists.
yeah, but I don't want him to be spread too thin either, right? Like this is the guy who's keeping this thing on track. And you move him over
Who's
to
Kevin
Star Wars,
Feige?
sure, Star Wars would
For those
probably
who might not know.
improve. I just don't want it to take away from what's being done at Marvel.
Yeah, don't you think he's got some disciples though? I mean, like who's the guy? Not Favreau, but the other guy who
Dave
did
Filoni.
Rebels. What-
Filoni?
Yeah. So he's basically their version of Feige. But I think that at the time they were making that last trilogy, he just hadn't risen up enough in prominence to kind of, like he basically holds it all together as far as lore and stuff like that goes. But I don't think that at that point he was kind of like setting the course for the series. Whereas I think like now he may be in a better position after just like dominating on The Mandalorian for a couple seasons.
Right.
I think he probably has more of the company's trust to kind of guide some of that stuff.
And he knows what the fans want, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's the big thing. You get someone who can actually make a show that fans enjoy, and apparently it's done well enough for them where they're planning a third season. So he makes money. I was just give that guy the head and let him run with it,
It is kind of bomb though that they're like hiring people off of internet videos. There's that other guy who about 6 months ago made that video where he like has the lightsaber and then he like flips around and he's like got the Spider-Man suit on and then he does a flip and he's
I think I
like doing Iron Man stuff. I don't remember specifically which characters he was doing, but he made this awesome video and then like posted it with the little note that said, "Hey, if anybody of you guys know anybody at Marvel, send this to him." And it went viral and like everybody saw it at the time and they ended up hiring that dude too. Pretty
Good for them.
pretty awesome that they're willing to like pull people off the internet and just be like, "Yeah, you're great. You can
Yeah.
come work here."
Did you guys realize that there was a San Diego Comic-Con this weekend?
I only heard about it because of the Weekly Planet.
Yeah, same. I'd totally forgotten about it. There was
What is-
not a
what is-
lot.
What is
No
the
idea
Weekly
what's happening.
Planet? I'm sorry.
It's a
I don't know what that
podcast.
is.
Sorry, Max. What was that?
I was gonna say I don't know what the Weekly Planet is either.
Oh.
Yeah, it's probably the podcast I've listened to for the longest, and it's just movie news with two guys who are pretty funny. So, but they had mentioned that Comic-Con had happened, and I had no idea.
Is it like a reduced capacity thing this year? Or?
It was an online thing, kind of, for the most part. There
Oh,
wasn't.
well.
I thought, man, Comic-Con happened. There'll be a lot of things to talk about, but from Comic-Con, some of the highlights, they had a trailer for like the new Doctor Who series. They talked about. I didn't realize Amazon was making a Wheel of Time show, and they're already making a second
yeah, I
season
think I
of it
heard
without even the first season being done. So they talked about
Good for
that.
them.
Blade Runner has an anime coming out. The new Dexter season had a trailer. Kevin Smith talked a little bit about He-Man, which I really want to watch. I haven't gotten to it yet, but it's getting a little bit of blowback from like He-Man fans, which sounded kind of funny.
From my understanding, is He-Man's not in it that much.
That's what I've heard too.
So
It's on the list to get to. New Dune trailer, Rick and Morty was talked about, but there wasn't anything. A little bit of Dragon Prince. I know you're a big fan of that. Eric.
What do they have to say about the Dragon Prince?
It's coming.
Bring it.
Basically, no, literally that. It's just coming. It's soon.
Oh,
That was
that's
about
fine.
it.
That's big news. I'll go for that.
And then and I didn't realize Netflix is making an animated version of Bone, the comic book, which is one of those books that was like really great. If you haven't read it, it's a good standalone.
I read the first trade paperback, but
Yeah. They had stuff about Invincible, Walking Dead stuff, but nothing crazy. The Netflix Army of the Dead prequel movie, Army of Thieves, got a trailer that debuted from Comic-Con. So nothing crazy. Like Marvel wasn't there, Disney wasn't there, DC wasn't there in a big way. So
it sounds like E3.
Yeah, but E3 I thought this year was actually pretty interesting compared
They
to
weren't
this.
like. So wasn't Microsoft like the only one that did anything of any note?
There were other minor things, but Microsoft definitely blew everybody out of the water.
Well, I saw that
Zelda
Elliot,
trailer.
and I think I even saw that you, Eric, were like, "Oh, I think I'll need an Xbox now." So I mean, that's a good review for what I
Yeah.
see as someone who's been an Xbox guy for a long time. So
Yeah,
So-
the Comic-Con thing, I don't know, man. Like, interesting that they chose to keep it remote. I think we're like winding up for another year of remote stuff. It's just my opinion. I think we all came out of our caves for about 3 months, and we're all going to get shoved back in our caves for another 9 or so when fall hits. So I imagine more events that are planning on being live are going to cancel their liveness, as we move forward. So maybe, maybe people were like holding back from this virtual Comic-Con thinking they could go make a big splash at the big live thing in a month or two, and then the big live thing is going to get canceled. And so like, that's not going to happen. I don't know.
So
I also think, there's reduced capacity as far as content goes, like shit was slowed down, stuff was moving slow. Everybody had to get their nose tested 3 times a day and, have special hotels to stay in. And, the production line slowed to a crawl there for a few months. So maybe like the news that we got is kind of all the news there is that we don't know, like, what do we not know about Marvel at this point? They laid out like the next 15 movies and 30 TV series, and the same thing for Star Wars, and DC is always just a fucking mess. Nobody ever knows what's going on with them. Stuff comes and goes off their
There's 2
slate.
Batmans currently. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? It's hard to, yeah. So, maybe that's just all there is right now,
And you did name a lot of comic book stuff, like
There was definitely
Walking Dead and Bone and Doctor Who. It's
Yeah.
not a comic book, but like, are those was the news about those just not particularly interesting, or were
that's a
were they
good
just
question.
not Marvel or DC comics level?
Like Bone to me was a book that I loved, so when I saw that, I was like, "Oh, that's cool." Wheel of Time is a series that I started to read and realized I hated it, and I stopped.
Me too.
Oh, so is this just
no,
like
Wheel of Time
so
is
just
supposed to
news
get-
that didn't interest you, or was
Well,
it
maybe
not news?
it is, but like I didn't even realize that Comic-Con had happened until it had already happened. So it didn't pop up on my internets. You know what I mean? It didn't pop up on my stuff throughout the weekend. Like,
I was
feel
catching
like
a
it
few
does.
things on IO9, I think, is where I
Okay.
was seeing the news posts, and yeah, there was nothing that was like, oh, ooh, ah, but I'm sure a Doctor Who fan out there would disagree with me. So
Sure. Yeah.
yeah,
Those
I just realized I've been feeling the same way of like, yeah, I didn't hear anything about it. I was in the woods for 4 days with my phone turned off.
That might
I was backpacking
have
this
been the
weekend.
problem.
That might, yeah. I think actually, I'm realizing what a terrible judge I am for. whether or
Who's to
not there was
say,
any
Max?
news
Who's
about
to
it.
say? Who's to say, really? Also, last week, EA had their EA Play Live event, which also kind of, again, nothing super, super crazy. They revealed Grid Legends, which is a racing game. It looks to be more like a actual like semi-street racing kind of game. I kind of looked at the trailer, but I'm not.
I'm all about it.
Guy.
I'm all about
Are
it
you?
because I got my Logitech
your
wheel
wheel.
now. I got
That's
my
right.
wheel, so anything that gets released that'll work with my wheel, I'm all for it. Bring
Worth a
it.
shot.
More grid.
So there's
Bring it
that. Battlefield 2042, they showed a new mode Portal, which combines elements of like previous Battlefield games, like a bunch of classic maps and modes, and like the ability to mix and match whatever you want. So it's not technically a level editor, but it's like the closest thing without being considered a level editor, I guess. Looks fine. Dead Space, it's not a remake. Is it a completely remake? I guess it is a complete remake.
It is a remake. Yeah, it is
Yeah.
a remake.
So Dead Space is getting a remake, which is, I played the first one and absolutely loved it. So this is one of those games that I think is a little hard to want to play again, because it kind of gives itself away in the sense. Like once you've played it, you've kind of played it. But
Well, I think too. One, you can play it on Xbox Series right now, right? Backwards compatibly. But has technology really leaped forward that much where you're going to add enough to Dead Space to warrant the remake?
Oh, wait a
When
minute.
did it
Like
come out?
we could go further than that because they're remaking the movie.
it's so close.
It's the end of the world. It's the guy and
Oh,
the
Last
little
of
girl.
Us?
The
Last
Last
of
of Us.
Us.
They're remaking The Last of Us.
Oh,
like
that's
the
right.
first The
Right.
Last of Us game. Like what the fuck? Like that.
I think
What are they
that one kind of made sense to me because like
Oh,
that
really?
game came out for PS3, right? Like it's been 2 generations.
Yeah, it came out for PS3, but it was like
And it was
Really?
remastered.
really top
It was
shelf
remastered.
PS3, and then they did a remaster for PS4, and like I was recently playing it on my PS5, and it still looks amazing. You
Hmm.
know, like it's Naughty Dog makes some really high end, long shelf life sort of stuff.
They
Oh,
really
for sure, yeah.
I was just kind of like, why? Like Dead Space was at least, I don't
It was
know.
Xbox. It was original.
It was
Xbox,
360.
right?
It was
Yeah,
360.
it was 360.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah, so I guess it's like PS3 versus 360. That's the same generation. But it seems like there's been longer with no Dead Space than there has been with Last of Us. Like Last of Us
I
has
agree.
been kind of present all
Last
the
of
way
Us
through.
remained like in your conscience with like the remaster of it, and then the sequel, and then the making a TV show or whatever.
Right.
But the one thing I heard about The Last of Us was someone was saying that it made sense because Naughty Dog's guys don't really have anything to do at the moment or something. Like they're kind of between games, and it's hard to have a studio stay busy all the time, I imagine.
I heard that too. I heard they were just feeding the devs. Like they had this whole group and they didn't want to disband them or lay them off. And so they were just giving them this to like have something to do.
Maybe throw them on a smaller indie sized IP. I don't know. Somebody there probably has some idea that they'd like to have Naughty Dog's name pushing it, but
yeah, somebody or do a Jack and Daxter. Come on.
Oh, yes.
Bring back
dude,
Jack and Daxter, guys. But yeah, I'm not mad at the Dead Space thing. I'll check it out. I never engaged too deeply with it the first time around, so I'm here for it.
The other stuff, there was some Apex Legends stuff. There was some Knockout City Season 2 announcements. Their next theme is Fight at the Movies. So I know you're a big Knockout guy.
I am. Yeah, I haven't played it lately, though. I've got to re-engage. It's been, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks since I booted it up. My daughter plays it a lot, and people that play with her must fucking hate her. She's 8 years old, and so, the whole idea is to hit other people with dodgeballs. But you can like turn yourself into a ball and the other people can pick you up and throw you and use you as a dodgeball. So she turns herself into a dodgeball and then she like goes underneath platforms, like really low platforms. And then she just rolls around down there and dudes will stand outside of the thing, like trying to hit her, but they can't reach her because she's like hiding in the middle of the thing. And it goes on like the entire match. She'll just roll in circles and just laugh and laugh and laugh. And you can tell like the other people are getting so mad because they can't get to her. So yeah, that's been Knockout City in our house.
I'll tell you a quick story about my kid frustrating other gamers. We were playing Among Us, and it was like me, my buddy Jason, and one other friend of mine, Cody, and we were playing with Teddy and then some randoms. Teddy's my son, and we were playing, and this guy on the team knew exactly who was killing who and when. And it was like my buddy Jason would kill someone and be like, how did they find out so quickly? I walk into his room. He's got a laptop open, Switch, phone. He's got like 4 of the people in the match are him.
Oh,
so
no.
So when they kill him, he, with one of the other characters, says, oh, it was blue, and then votes them out. He has like 100% win rate at Among Us.
Brilliant. How old is he?
He's 11 now.
How old is this genius?
Yeah.
I can barely comprehend playing like just on one device. There's like so much going on and like keeping track of what everybody's everybody.
Yeah, different generation for sure.
Yeah, totally. Play games while looking at their phone, while listening to their ear pods. Yeah, 100%.
Eric, your PlayStation is already outdated.
Oh, great.
PlayStation 5.
Super pleased with that.
There's a new model that has been revealed. It weighs, let's see, the current weight of the PlayStation 5 is 3.9 kilograms. The new one is 3.6 kilograms. And that's all we know so far, is that it is...
That makes a huge difference because I'm picking my PlayStation up never.
I'm sure.
I will also tell you my PlayStation is upside down and I refuse to turn it right side up. I'm not going to do it. I put it in there. It looked right side up to me. I was like, this is how it goes, clearly. And then I heard, no, that's wrong. And I was like, you know what? Fuck that. I'll just put the discs in upside down. I think we're good. I think it's going to stay like that.
What could go wrong with this $500 piece of machinery in my home?
Exactly. So far, so good.
Okay, well, maybe you're still good. And that's just on the model with the disk drive. The other drive, it doesn't look like it's been unchanged, or it hasn't been updated yet. So
I gotta imagine they got a smaller version in the works somewhere.
Oh yeah,
that thing's like a refrigerator, right?
It's
It's huge.
Beast.
it is. It is a big machine.
But it's only been a year since it came out, and you still can't even get one, so
Right,
it seems
exactly.
pretty early for a hardware refresh.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
think
a
you're
good
right.
call. But they can't stop themselves. They gotta push it and push it and push it and try for cheaper parts and make it bring price down, drop it to $475 or whatever.
Great, maybe then I could get one.
You got to find one first. So, a couple of states, California, Colorado, Hawaii, Oregon, Vermont, and Washington are banning the sale of high-end PCs starting at the end of this month. It's actually been something they've been working on since 2016, but it's now going to start going into effect at the end of this month.
Can you wait? Okay, we're gonna have to.
Let's play a game. Let's play a game. Why would these states ban the selling of gaming PCs?
Name the states again, please.
California, Colorado, Hawaii, Oregon, Vermont, and Washington.
But tip of my tongue
Yeah.
can.
I read the article, so I
only
can't.
Is this something to do with
I won't
weed?
contribute.
Not,
It's not anything to do with weed.
Is it just mining? Is it Bitcoin mining?
Power consumption.
Power
regulations.
consumption. That makes sense, man. I go to
From
Vermont a
Bitcoin
lot,
miners?
and it is very green there. So define high-end PCs. Can you still buy the parts and build your own high-end PC?
So Dell has refused to deliver PCs containing a Ryzen 5800 CPU and NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3060 Ti GPUs. Apparently, as the components become more powerful, certain builds are going to probably be taken off the market in those areas currently. Things like the Xbox X and S and PlayStation 5 don't fall into those kinds of categories because of the amount of energy that they use, but it could happen eventually with something like that.
All right, I am by no means a libertarian, but
What a way to start a sentence.
but under this circumstance, I think my opinion falls squarely on if you're paying your electric bill, you can tell them to eat a dick. I don't feel like that's very cool at all. I don't know. What do you guys think? Am I missing something here? I understand. What's the difference between that and running your pool filter, or leaving all the lights on in your house, or being irresponsible energy-wise a different way? What if I got solar panels on the roof of my fucking house? Can I have a PC then? I got issues, man. I got issues. Explain more, Elliot. I need you to dig deeper.
I've got a lot to say, so I'm waiting because I'll go on and on. So I'm going to wait a minute.
I can link
Do you have deeper information, or
yeah. Well, there's a compliance advisory panel from the California Energy Commission that is it's only 3 pages long. I did not read it, but it just lists. It's been in the works since 2016 that they were working towards doing this kind of stuff. It just happened to be this is the end date of it, so we need to actually start doing it now.
Hey, Vermont, why don't you ban those Subaru SUVs that everybody's driving?
those are the components that people use for Bitcoin mining, though, right?
I think there is some logic behind that too, Max. I think you're right.
The same GPUs are the really high-end ones that people are using in Bitcoin mines, which are famously high polluters. When you're constantly using that much energy, at that level, it is pretty intense.
Well, I
imagine that's orders of magnitude different than just running your PC on nice graphics when you're playing for a couple hours a day or something. However long people play video games for.
I understand that. I do. But and I'm by no means an anti-environmentalist at all. I support
totally.
Yeah, I gotcha.
I support most environmental efforts. But then there's a piece of me that's
fuck trees. Burn every tree to the ground.
This is America.
Yeah. That's right.
Well,
If I can afford just burning gasoline for no reason, I should be able to.
Right. So I think it's what gets me is why computer parts. And I think what Max is saying makes a lot of sense to me. That maybe that this Bitcoin and crypto farming, I don't know anything about it, but has caused a huge spike in this energy usage. Because I'm like, of the things to ban in all of these states, why computer parts? Because there are lots of things, like Eric said, that use a ton of energy. But then on the same article, Elliot, they kind of back down the fact that California's banning it because they're in Silicon Valley.
Right. Yeah, I did. Yeah.
And so to me, it's like, well, now it's a money thing, right? And that's where some states are green, and maybe they're doing it for the right reasons. But it feels like their efforts could be put somewhere better than banning computer parts.
Go after frackers. Like, go after,
Well,
like, I don't know.
politicians can only go after people who aren't paying other politicians enough to keep them from going after them.
Exactly.
There you
right?
go. There you go.
Because we don't, as a gaming community, we don't pay politicians outside of making personal small donations on a small level. And, I don't know how much, NVIDIA invests in politicians, but maybe they're going to have to look at that. Now, what I could see happening, though, is these creators, now with this limitation in place, trying to figure out how to make more energy efficient processors, because while I do some PC gaming, I'm not hardcore, I need the best and the brightest, but it feels to me like that's where their energy isn't so much on let's make a processor that's energy efficient and can deliver great graphics, but let's just make the biggest monster we can, sell it for thousands of dollars and make a profit, and then move on to make the next biggest monster. And if they have this in place, maybe it will encourage them to make more energy efficient monsters, and it will probably slow that innovation a bit. But I'm also kind of with Eric. I'm like, but it's a consumer product. They're buying it and running it a computer. I can't imagine that this is really where the big strain on the environment is gaming parts. It seems ridiculous to me.
Yeah, maybe there's some information that I'm not privy to, and I'm sure there are spreadsheets and reports and graphs and so on explaining how the high-end gaming PCs are destroying the environment. And if so, good on them for going after it, but like shame on them for not going after all the other shit that's going on, that is like so apparent in our faces,
Shame on the government for not fixing all the problems in the world.
Well, yes.
Well,
clearly.
shame
No,
on them
I'm with
for
you there. Absolutely.
shame on them for like cherry picking this one problem to go after, then probably applauding themselves and patting themselves on the back like they did something great, while like 4 states are burning to the fucking ground. It just. I think it misses the forest for the trees a little bit. That's all.
I can't be mad at someone for actually doing something. Like, sure, there's other things to do, but you don't, just because you do one thing to sort of try to help the environment doesn't mean you're not doing other things. Like, they're not mutually exclusive.
Well, and part of why I was bringing up money is it depends on how it affects those states' economy too, right? That's why I was saying that California kind of rolled back on it because of Silicon Valley and how much that affects their economy. And I don't care. Well, I do care who you vote for, but I don't care whether you're red or blue, what state it is. All of them care about the money and the way the economy is affected in their state. And I think that this is a way to put something out there to say we're doing something. But, if I can just say Florida, for instance, we're known for oranges, right? And if it was found out that oranges and our farming practices were ruining the environment, they probably would try to ban computer parts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we're doing something. Ignore the fact that our orange groves are killing the environment. We've banned computer parts. And that's what this feels like to me.
Yeah. I will say, when you
Still
think
think
about
it's crypto.
Bitcoin or like Dogecoin, a lot of those cryptocurrencies, they've even gone on the record of saying, hey, we didn't really realize how much energy this was going to consume to produce these things when computers are mining them. It wasn't anything we were thinking of however long ago they were forming Bitcoin. Or even like the Dogecoin guy was like, yeah, we made Dogecoin in like an hour on like a drunk bet. So like the amount of energy that it consumed was not something that we even remotely thought about. And we only think of it now because you're asking us if we thought about it. And if the answer is, of course, no. So, no one really, I don't think, thought of the side effects of like what Bitcoin mining is doing to, energy consumption. Because these Bitcoin houses that are just mining Bitcoin in these, middle of nowheres, it's crazy, right? The amount of energy that they're just raw energy they're consuming for nothing other than, digital currency that means whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that, and they're also not doing illegal, so it's not like you can go after them like you would a meth house. Right. It's not illegal, and so they're trying to handle it the best way that they can.
GPUs.
And I would also like to point out that my reaction is 100% uneducated. I am being the guy raging on Twitter about something that I have no understanding of whatsoever. So
yeah, we spent like 15 minutes raging about this too.
Right?
What is this podcast?
Is that kind of like our shtick?
I'm just.
I've been doing
exactly
some
what I'm
research.
talking
Hey,
about.
I've been doing some research on the side. Crypto mining uses about one of the lower estimates I'm looking at uses about as much energy as Finland does annually. So pretty fucking significant.
What's the population
there's
of Finland?
I don't know, man. That's a different
Well, I mean,
Google.
that's kind of where they're.
I mean, what's the?
Well, I'm just saying that's a fun
notable.
stat, right? That's a fun stat. The United States is a huge nation, so you have that many people. I'm sure it's super power hungry. I'm not trying to make excuses, and that's a fun stat. Finland uses less energy than just the Bitcoiners alone. But my question would be, well, how many people in Finland are mining Bitcoin compared to the United States? So
it's okay. Fuck Finland. 80 terawatt hours, but that doesn't mean anything to me. So as much energy as Finland uses, like that's
there you go.
comprehensible. That's why I bring it up. I don't care how many people are mining crypto.
Can you break that into gigawatts, please?
Yes.
Yeah, please.
Terawatts to gigawatts. I mean,
gigawatts. It's got to be gigawatts, please.
It's
Sorry,
definitely gigawatts.
let me get my giga converter.
Well,
So
it's definitely
I'm
something that I'm gonna look into more. I'm curious now. You guys have made me curious,
Oh,
and I'm probably
good.
gonna come back next week and be like, "Dudes, I was so wrong. They need to ban the rest of the
Totally.
computers."
Yeah.
But yeah, my knee jerk reaction is, if I want to order something on Amazon, I want to be able to.
Yeah.
And until we do research, that's the message we're putting out into the world by this podcast. So
We approve this message.
with great power, I guess a podcast doesn't qualify as great power, right? It's not a real platform.
I don't know, 86 listeners. Does that qualify? I guess what we got last week.
It's not a real platform we have here, right? We don't have to be
That's right.
responsible with it, do
Definitely
we?
that.
Where
Yeah.
it's an echo chamber, and I just spend some
No, I'll argue
time
with you.
investing in solar. Like if you're, I don't know, because then they got to deal with lobbyists that they'd rather not deal with. I'll talk in circles. Go ahead.
And none of us know what we're talking about anyway.
And yeah,
so.
Yeah.
Exactly.
we just burned 15 minutes on
The best
something we
part.
don't know about.
I am an idiot. Okay, so just take what I.
And we haven't
just-
even gotten to Blizzard this week yet.
just
Oh,
put a-
Jesus.
oh,
Are we?
I was
Four-
saving it because I was
four
so mad
white
that
guys
Joe's not
talking
here.
about Blizzard.
Oh.
Let's do it.
So before
I
we
figured
get
you
to
were saving that one.
Of course, I wanted Joe to be here to just hear him tell me I was wrong again. But anyway,
I mean, we can wait till next week.
No,
I don't think
no.
they'll be better by then.
yeah, it's only getting worse. I am assuming Eric and Jeff are both Ghostbuster fans just because of like their age. Max, are you a Ghostbusters fan at all? I'm just assuming they were of that age of like
Yeah.
Ghostbusters was a big thing then.
Okay, I'll
Other
But
expressions.
I've already
I
said
wrong?
I'm not
Am I
a huge
wrong?
Star
Eric's-
Wars fan.
Eric's
okay.
grinning like he loves Ghostbusters, and Jeff is so indignant looking.
Yeah.
I've never even
Am
seen
I wrong?
Ghostbusters.
Am I wrong? Are you guys not Ghostbusters
when
fans?
when I was a kid, I had 2 VHS tapes that were purchased, and they were Raiders of the Lost Ark and Ghostbusters.
Okay.
I could probably sit here
Okay.
and just dictate Ghostbusters through the microphone
All right.
to you guys.
So one for one already. Okay, Jeff, yeah, Ghostbusters guy.
It's fine. It is Star Wars to me. I watched it as a kid. The first one was good. The second one, I just like, I don't care anymore. And
there
yeah,
too.
that's.
I'm gonna count that
it's
as a
fine.
win. Okay. And so
course you
Matt, so Matt, were you a Ghostbusters guy at all?
I've Bill Murray's in it, right? I've never seen it.
Fantastic.
It came out 8 years before I was born.
Yeah. First one 1984, second one 1989.
Didn't know there was a second one.
Oh, I
Carry on.
think I like the second one more than the first one. I think
Ah,
that's the one I watched
heresy,
more.
Get
sacrilege,
outta here.
blasphemy, shame. I wish I had a bell. Shame.
How much do you like
No.
Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls? You
Oh, that yeah,
numbskull?
that's terrible. But that's anyway. New Ghostbusters, a new trailer for the Ghostbusters movie that we thought was coming out last year. I think, right? I think that's what the original thought was, like late summer last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ghostbusters Afterlife is what it's called. It's coming out around Thanksgiving. That's all they've said is Thanksgiving. The premise is, let's see, after being convicted from their home, a single mother and her 2 children are forced to move to a decayed farmhouse in Somerville, Oklahoma, left to them by their by their children's late grandfather. A
Egon.
series of
He was
unexpected
Egon.
earthquakes. It's definitely Egon, right?
Yeah, they don't even make a secret about the fact.
I mean,
that
the
it was
character
Egon.
has glasses. What else are we supposed to assume?
Oh man, this chair's so creaky.
Anyway, I thought the trailer looks cool. It looks very different from the original Ghostbusters. It looks very different from the reimagining of the last Ghostbusters.
I don't think
movie.
I don't know if it does look that different from the original Ghostbusters.
Oh,
Like,
really?
yeah, the original Ghostbusters tone was not all like wacky. Like there were a lot of jokes, but until the Stay Puft guy showed up, like there were some moments in that movie. It had some levity to it, and like visually, it looked like a kind of dark film. Like it wasn't like when you think of like an SNL movie where it's all glossy and so on and so forth.
Sure.
It wasn't like that. Like it was I don't know. I think of it in terms of like New York colors, like it used like kind of it had this kind of gritty New York feel to it. And so yeah, I don't think like the seriousness of that trailer is out of tone for the original Ghostbusters. It got a little goofier with the second Ghostbusters, which was
Well, and I think even with the second one and the first one, there's genuine like horror talent that's put into those movies to develop horror characters. I mean, I think just the monster in the library of the first one, right? That thing is scary. There's nothing goofy about it.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't show this movie to my kids yet. Like my older kids.
So-
My older kids, of course, yes, but my younger kids, yeah, no way. Like it would keep them up for the rest of their lives.
When it was like he was like 5 years ago. My son was younger. I just had it on, and that scene he freaked with the library ghost. So, and I think that this movie kind of has a cool tone of being serious. It didn't look that funny to me. I love Paul Rudd, as does everyone in the world, but I didn't get a lot of humor from it.
I think the humor will come. Like a lot of what's
Yeah.
funny about Ghostbusters is that they find themselves in like crazy serious situations, like life or death, end of the world, apocalypse situations, and then they make jokes. It's kind of like joking in the face of, doom and real kind of dark gallows humor. And, there are some like wackier parts to it, but like the parts that really work in the movie are due to the fact that they're just standing in front of these nightmarish things and like, saying these offhand comments to each other that are funny. And so I think that striking a more serious tone like that is totally the way to go. Like that's in keeping with the original franchise. The recent one with Melissa McCarthy and Kristen Wiig and so on, I didn't have issues with it, like a lot of other people did, but it was definitely a different tone. It was definitely like a wackier comedy sort of thing, and it didn't really strike the same mood as the original franchise. This looks
So
like much more a return to form.
Yeah, the original cast is all in it, with the exception of
Harold
Ramis, who passed in 2014, and then
who
joining.
I would argue is the heart of Ghostbusters as a. Did he direct that one?
No,
No,
Ivan
I think it was
Reitman directed
Ivan
it.
Reitman.
He
Okay.
wrote it with Dan Aykroyd.
He did Groundhog Day. That's what it was.
Yes.
Yeah. But Harold Ramos is like the heart. But he's in the background. He's not up front like your Bill Murray is, but he's the guy I think kind of holds the whole thing together. So that's unfortunate that, he passed, obviously, and won't be able to make a cameo.
Carrie Coon's joining the cast. She was in The Leftovers, which was a great show if you never watched it. Finn Wolford from
Stranger Things.
Yeah, thank you. McKenna Grace, who I don't know her from anything. She was on some Disney XD shows, I guess. And then you have like Annie Potts, Ernie Hudson. Paul Rudd joins the cast. Bill Murray is in it. Dan Aykroyd's in it. So
yeah, Dan Aykroyd had a brief vocal cameo in the trailer, and
yeah.
I'm excited. It looks cool. What I was trying to get at was, Max, I don't know if you watched the trailer or not, and if you did, if it does it appeal to you? Not really knowing much about it, or are you just like, oh, this is...
I think I saw this trailer when it came out because it was the beginning shots, maybe there was a different trailer a while ago.
There was a different trailer. It was originally, this movie has been delayed 3 times. So originally in July 2020, this trailer is very similar because I watched both of them after watching it. So
I didn't realize there was a difference. But yeah, I remember they were going down a well for something. They played that on YouTube, and I was like, oh, what's the Stranger Things kid doing going down a well? Is this what's going on here? It actually caught my attention. And then I realized it was Ghostbusters pretty early on, and it was a pretty similar trailer, and I watched this one before we recorded. And I can't think of any other trailer I've ever seen that relies so hard, that at least that I haven't been in on, because I think the Star Wars trailers for the new movies did this too, that relies so hard on you knowing what the things are and having a reverence for them. Because they just pull a sheet off a car and it's oh, and I'm like, what an ugly car. You're just the music cues, all of the scoring was set up in such a way to have very dramatic beats correspond with images of things that meant nothing to me. Or the only thing that I really got anything from was at the end of this one, Bill Murray picks up a phone and I was like, oh, Bill Murray was in the old one.
Yeah,
it's nice that he's still alive. That's great news.
It definitely relies on the iconography, and so if you're not familiar with it, it would be like revealing the Back to the Future car, and you'd never seen Back to the Future, I guess. Yeah, that makes sense, and it also makes sense.
Really good critique of the trailer because it definitely is fan servicey.
It takes itself it gives itself a very reverent tone too, not just fan service ha, all your guys are back, but I got the vibe that everything was like a reliquary. These objects are very important, but just I think maybe the music more than anything else.
Yeah, and
you're right.
To me,
she pulls the trap out of the thing, and it's yeah,
car
you're
battery,
totally dead
cool.
on.
Yeah, and you are, and my reaction is it's the trap. Oh, they got the car.
So and I think they're doing exactly what they want to do. They want Eric to get hyped for the movie.
And, I'm totally hyped for the movie. I was hyped for the movie a year ago. The other cool Ghostbusters thing that we should probably talk about being a gaming podcast is the Ghostbusters, the video game that came out on Xbox 360 and then was remastered, I think, on the last generation.
Yes.
Fine game. Fine game.
Excellent game.
They got the entire original cast to be in it. Harold Ramis was in it before he passed. Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Ernie Hudson, Annie Potts, all doing their original characters. A full-blown Ghostbusters story.
It's what people feel should be Ghostbusters 3.
Yeah.
It's as close as you're going to get.
It is. And they really kind of nailed the tone and the characters. Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis wrote the dialogue and the story for it, and it's the jam. So if you've never played that game, definitely go look it up. You can probably get it for $10 at this point.
November 11th, by the way, 2021. That's the official release date for now. So the last thing I had, and we should probably touch on it, I guess. I don't know. It's so weird to talk about the Activision Blizzard thing because, again, like Jeff said, 4 white guys that,
but we're white guys that don't hate women, so that's a start. That's a start. Yeah, okay.
Well, and I think
one thing also is it's a very big can of worms to open up 54 minutes into a podcast.
Right.
I think that's more than anything.
And I don't know Max and Eric that well, but I'm pretty sure they'll be on the side of not abusing people.
Plot twist.
hey-
Have I got a joke? Have I got a plot twist for you?
I
No,
can't
just
work with this man. But people don't know. There are a lawsuit around sexual assault allegations.
Right.
And for gamers that aren't
Among
paying
others.
attention, what that means is delays in trailers and things like that don't matter. What matters is people being safe in their workplace.
Oh.
And companies and rich guys in suits, primarily white men, protecting their business by not protecting their employees. That's all there is to it. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what we're talking about. And the leaders of these companies coming out, because they have this lawsuit now, they have to use language to protect themselves and say this is a bogus lawsuit because they're fighting it in court. And the reason it is because they didn't take care of it in the first place. They didn't care enough about their employees when a complaint came forward to say, okay, we'll investigate it. We'll suspend the person. We'll investigate it. And if this
Well,
is
if the complaint's
true
about you,
and there's evidence, we will fire them. Bad PR be damned. But what happens is they cover it. And probably because some of the harassment is done, and I don't know, but by people in power, because that's usually how it works. It's not me working next to Sylvia that's doing it. It's Sylvia's boss's boss. You know what I mean?
From
And
what I
those are
was
the
reading
ones-
in the lawsuit, it was the dude that working next to Sylvia as well. It was sort of ubiquitous culture.
It seemed like
Okay.
a very cultural.
Is this going to be another one we don't know what we're talking about?
Absolutely.
Well, no,
Okay,
yeah. I mean, we
well.
weren't there. We just have what we read, but I did read more about this.
Yeah,
than about the-
pervasive frat boy culture, constant sexual harassment.
Mhm.
Very few women ever reached the top roles within the company. Women of color were particularly vulnerable targets, according to some of what they're finding. Discouraged from complaining as human resource personnel were known to be close to the alleged harassers. It just nothing of any value.
I think
There's very little redeeming going on there.
Right.
Yeah, so maybe here's an angle that you could maybe talk about within, without it needing to be a long and thing that we don't really have a take on, because obviously, hey, it's incredibly easy to not assault your employees. Do that,
Yes.
obviously. For us, do you? Where should we be buying Activision games or
Well,
Blizzard games?
the-
I think
what I was
that's like
gonna-
maybe we could talk about that.
the
like,
point I was trying to get at, the article that I really thought was interesting was the reaction of people who play Blizzard games, right? In World of Warcraft, they're staging like sit-ins within the game. Over 2,000 employees have signed petitions at this point about
That's
it.
big because
You know,
that's
it's
the
that
people that
kinda
can lose their
stuff
job by
that's-
calling out their own company.
Yeah.
That I found really kind of like the mass group of people who don't work within the company are saying, "Hey, this is wrong."
So
It's been kind of
here-
interesting to see.
Here's my take as far as what the gaming community can look at and think about. How many times has EA been called the worst company in the world? Voted on, signed and sealed. And their worst crime is microtransactions. And I remember when they had online passes and just being a dick business-wise, right? And everybody voted them out and shot them down, and they boycott things, and they start EA Twitter things to just rip EA to shreds. Here we have Activision Blizzard doing something that, from our knowledge that we have, is way worse. Why don't we react the same way as gamers? Why don't we tear them down the same way? Why don't we pretend that they announced Diablo for mobile and react that way as opposed to how we do when these allegations come out?
That is a good point. I don't know. I have seen a lot more backlash online to this than I have, other similar events in the past. So I do think that in some ways, parts of the gaming culture are kind of catching up to that and catching on to that. I have seen, boycott Blizzard, boycott Activision a lot online, but, online sentiments are paper thin, how much weight does that really carry when you jump onto Twitter and say, I'm going to boycott Blizzard? The real way to do it is with your pocketbook. Like as individuals make that decision and stop giving them money, and I would venture to guess that there is a huge swath of Activision Blizzard fans who are as yet completely unaware of the entire situation. Not everybody follows the news as closely as we do. And
that's kind of where I was thinking, like, when we talk about those Twitter campaigns, that would create awareness at least,
Yeah.
And maybe that would affect more people not, getting in on a boycott, or getting in on having their voices heard. But I also hear what you're saying too, is like, it's one thing to yell into the void. It's another thing to say, okay, I'm done supporting you with my money.
Yeah, exactly.
And is that even helpful?
Yeah. I'm wondering which one is more meaningful,
And is a boycott, is that a particularly effective means of saying, hey, I have this problem with your company? If that were to put the company out of business, then the people being harassed would now also be harassed and unemployed.
I don't think it would ever be to put something out of business. I think the idea would be.
But are there more?
I don't know that there are
ways
for you and I, right? Or anyone who just is some guy making a podcast or someone just playing a game, right? I don't know. I think, like Eric said, voting with our wallets is the best thing we probably can do, and voicing that as consumers, we won't tolerate this from the companies we support. Because I think ultimately what you can hope for and your end goal would be that the people in power who allow this are gone, and that other companies will take notice that their consumers will backlash on them if they allow this sort of thing to happen. I mean, that's kind of where we're stuck. It's just unfortunate that's as powerless as we feel. How much more powerless are the people that work there and get harassed, and if they say anything, they lose their job.
I will say this: if there's ever another BlizzCon, it's going to be tense.
Yeah, if there's ever, yeah.
Who's going to that one?
I mean, not that I was ever going to,
right?
Or that I've ever actually bought a Blizzard game.
Yeah, I'm done buying Blizzard games for a while.
Yeah, exactly. When the day comes, when Overwatch 2 eventually comes, I loved the first one. When it comes out, am I going to pick it up? I don't know. The other question is, did Jeff Kaplan know? And is that why he left? I don't know. That's just speculation at that point, but it's certainly going to taint the way I feel about a product I buy, or when I boot up Diablo and the Blizzard logo shows up, it's going to be like, ooh, right. I remember now.
Yeah. I mean, as a culture though, sometimes our culture looks past those things. Like, look at Roman Polanski, there's the perfect example. He's still out there making movies though, man. Like there's a certain, or Woody Allen, there's a certain subset of people that are like, yeah, no way, done with Woody forever, but Woody's still out there making movies. Like, he's getting money to make them one way or another. So I do think that there's, a lot of people that might just not, just
right.
don't.
I mean, the Chris Brown,
yeah,
he
R. Kelly,
guitar out of, anybody. Right. Yeah. And the rage in the internet sphere is so temporary. That's all I can say.
No, you're right.
There's
You're
no
absolutely
words.
right.
Like it requires such a
It's a quick news
huge
cycle sometimes.
shift.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Well, we're not gonna solve it here tonight on the Gaming Nexus show.
Anyway, so let's kind of wrap it on up.
But next week, maybe tune back
Exactly.
Oh God! Good. Thanks,
tune in and
man.
find
Everybody-
out. Are we able to fix the
everybody-
universe?
Take it as your homework for the week. We're gonna solve the Blizzard
Bring
Activision
3.
thing. Come back.
Yeah.
Come back next week. Yeah, with 3 ideas.
Also,
And
we're
we'll,
going to invent a graphics card that requires very little power. We'll have
Yeah.
both of. Well, they will have both of those. I'm going to put the pressure on you to do it since I won't be here.
Man,
This is a week of
play 2D
controversy,
games,
Elliot.
I know.
like mine.
Yeah.
What are you
Yeah, so,
doing to
yeah.
us here?
Well, it was kind of a slow news week, man. It's definitely one of those dog days of summer when it comes to like gaming news. Where you're like, oh, cool. I guess we can talk about this. Oh, anyway.
One bummer after another.
Let's find another like funny topic, Max. Pick another like. thing for us to go through.
Here's some good news. I finally released the soundtrack to Ocean's Heart, and it's available
Oh,
on
nice,
Bandcamp.
dude.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's awesome.
So-
We'll have a link to that in the show notes as long as Max sends me one.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
I finally got off my butt and uploaded those files. Bandcamp makes you upload them one by one, and it's a long soundtrack. So,
And
But
are
yeah,
you
so it's
uploading
the,
FLACs too? Just big beefy files?
waves, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's like you can stream it for free. You can stream it for free if you want, or you can kick me some money to download it. If you played Ocean's Heart and like the music.
Very cool. Very cool, man.
Well, are you playing anything too, Max? Are you still working on? Was it Dark Souls?
Yeah, so I was working on. I spent the week with strep throat and then out in the woods, still with strep throat, but walking a lot further than I ought to have been. So I didn't really get to any video games this week.
All right.
Big rec for the woods though. Go out there.
I tried the
Get some
woods
fresh
out.
air. Mountains of Connecticut are surprisingly lovely, considering I thought it was all just suburbs.
Out of 10.
10 out of 10. Would Connecticut again.
Well, I did a big chunk of it, man. It's not that big.
It's not that big. How about you, Eric? Are you playing anything?
I Tribes of Midgard, man.
Man, I digging it. I've tried to convince my boss, a coworker, my brother, and another friend to get this game because I had such a blast last weekend playing it.
If you can put together 9 people, let me know, and I will
that's
be
my-
your 10th.
That's my try.
man.
That's my
And like, I think we need to let people kind of bang on it for a little while to get
Yeah.
some of the strategies together, and then we can go in and utilize their strategies. Because I mean, I feel like when we were playing it, and you can check out the video of us playing it on GamingNexus.com. I feel like we did pretty well for
Yeah.
our second time. We were 8 days in. I feel like we had at least another 4 days in us that we could have survived.
and we stopped because we just kind of like it had been like
Ran
2.5
out of time,
hours,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
went on for hours.
Yeah.
But I know there are going to be teams that like roll up in there, like the military and
Yeah.
just coordinate their efforts. And that's what I'm interested in seeing, when people like master that game and treat it like an MMO raid and just go in there and, start yelling out assignments.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
The
It's a cool
premise
game.
is cool. It looks cool. It was a blast to play with friends. Like there was only 4 of us, and it was an absolute blast.
Yeah, it was really fun.
So I can't recommend it enough. I'm reviewing it, and hopefully my review will be out this week. That's my plan. But man, I'm having a lot of fun. I'm having fun. I even started playing the solo mode because I unlocked that with my levels, just to try to give it a try. Or the
How you doing?
survival mode.
You sucking? You sucking?
So the cool part about the survival mode is you can set the parameters. So you can make the map
Oh.
smaller. You can make the Joltons or Jortans easier or harder. You can make things a lot easier for you. So I made everything as easy as I could just to see how far I can get by myself. So I've had some success. So
that's good.
It's fun. So it's more fun with friends, but it's definitely worth I think it's $20, $19.99.
Yeah, it's $20. Yeah, it's a ridiculously
worth
good
every
deal.
penny so far. So
Yeah.
how about you, Jeff? Are you playing anything these days?
Mostly Spelunky 2. Just
It's
classic good roguelikeness. We reviewed a game called Storybook Brawl on Budget Arcade. I'm still playing that, and that doesn't happen usually with the free-to-play garbage we have to play. And then actually, there's a $3 game on Steam. I think you can get on your mobile phone too, called Snake RX. It's SNKRX. $3. It's excellent. It's really simple, kind of lo-fi graphics. But if you like sort of the economy and the strategy around auto battlers, but you also want to throw in classic Snake on your Nokia, it's worth your time. It's really good. It's really cheap. And I'm having a blast with that one, too.
Nice.
Awesome.
I'll have to check that out then. Well, thank you for listening, as always, guys. We'll be back again next week. Maybe Joe will be here. Maybe we actually fired him and he's not going to be here. Who knows?
Who knows?
Maybe he'll listen and maybe he won't. He probably won't listen. So at this point, I'll just be like, fuck you, Joe. What are you going to do about it? You're not going to listen. You're listening? Yeah.
And if he
I'll
does
apologize.
listen, do you think he listens this far?
Yeah. Oh, there's no way. An hour and 10 in. You're not listening, Joe. Banhammer, Joe. Banhammer.
I'm pretty sure Elliot or maybe Tessa has told, fuck me on one of their shows.
Oh, it used to be our sign off for a long time. It was like, screw you, Jeff.
Yeah, and I'm like,
And
I
he
always
listens every
listen
week.
to every episode all the way through. And it's just so hurtful.
We've
Well,
got someone
thanks
who
for
loves the
listening, and
most.
as always, screw you, Jeff.
Yeah,
That's right. So do sign off. So good. We'll catch you guys next week.
Bye, all.